here talking about guitars.
Yeah.
We'll do a live sound check. You know
Check
what I mean?
1, 2.
So what was the model guitar you were saying?
It's a Epiphone inspired by Gibson J45.
Okay.
So it's like this
It's my wife.
Hi, it's nice to meet you. It's like this I don't want to call it like a high-end Epiphone because they have like real high-end Epiphones.
Yeah.
But it's like a nice guitar. It's solid wood. It sounds amazing, but it's heavy. It's like heavy as hell. So it kind of messes up my shoulders a little bit, but I love it so much, especially because it was like before tax, it's like $750, I think, which is not bad.
Yeah, I mean for everyday wear.
So I can like bring it to outdoor shows. I can travel with it. If Delta smashed it to bits, like I would be fine. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's not like a prized like I have like a 63 Guild that I'm like I can't take it anywhere because it's a beautiful little.
What's the story of that one?
That one
how'd you come across a 63 Guild?
Oh my gosh. Well, it's it's a Guild M20. It's all mahogany. I just got it from Austin Vintage, and it was like my first really big purchase guitar.
Okay.
And what's so funny is I had cut up my credit card. So I asked them if I could like read out my card number. They're like, we like can't do that, but you seem pretty trustworthy, so we'll just trust you. I like showed them my app and everything. They were like very uncomfortable doing it, but I was like, please. So I convinced them to sell it to me, and I put it on a credit card that I had just cut up.
Why did you cut up your credit card?
To not buy things, and then I immediately bought a guitar.
How long ago was this?
This was spring of 2023 or 4. I can't remember.
So,
it was a couple years ago, and I don't take it out much anymore because it's so old that it just does not do well in weather.
Yeah.
And so then and I've already had a crack repaired.
It's like a studio guitar.
And I did use it on my record. So I was like, I'm going to just bring it to studio and play it at home because I love it. But
cool. Well, Katrina, welcome.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you sitting down. I really enjoyed your music at Under the Rock, and we're going to have Aaron, Dr. Rokelin, on here on the show pretty soon. I think that's a really unique thing that he's doing. And I mean, for me, I had heard about you and your music, but that was the first time that I actually seen you live and in person. And so there was just like this whole other like new fresh way of connecting to artists and their artistry. And I don't know, I think it was awesome. So thank you for being here. So where are you from, Katrina?
That's a question that involves a lot of explanation, to be honest.
Okay.
I always dread this question.
All right. Well,
but we can dive into it. I live here in Austin, obviously. I have moved so many times. I've moved houses over 20 times, but I've lived in like 7 different states. So, my family is from Texas. I'm like 4th generation Dentonite, which is, I lived in Denton for 10 years and I did not like it. And I know if Denton people listen to this, I love you, but there's some things about living in a town like that.
Everybody's got their
but
deltas.
It's funny because when I moved there, I didn't really know how deep my family history goes. I just thought, well, I was born in Dallas. My family's from Dallas area. Fine, whatever. And then my dad would like send me news articles from like the 1800s with like my family in it. I was like, oh my gosh, I am a Dentonite. Like I am. But I was born in Dallas. I lived in Maryland, Wisconsin, Ohio, and then I spent like middle and high school in Connecticut, and then moved back to Texas. And I've lived in Texas the longest.
Okay.
So I just consider myself, when people ask where I'm from, I say like kind of DFW. And
it's fair. That's good enough. You know.
They usually don't really press me on it. If they do, then they're like, what high school did you go to? I'm like, okay, so funny story. New England is in there. I'm a little bit Texas and a little bit New England. So.
Okay. So what caused it? Were you military family?
My dad worked for like the government, not like high up in the government, just like the type of job where if you are assigned like a region, you know what I'm saying? You have to then like work in that region. So there was actually a year where we were living in a really, really small town called Chagrin Falls in Ohio. It's outside of Cleveland. super tiny town, and or at least in my memory it was. And he was assigned to Ohio, and my mom got into Yale for a master's on a full scholarship because
Wow.
who can afford to be
Yeah.
there?
Yeah.
And she like in her God, she would have been like in her 40s with 4 kids, and she got into Yale, which is funny because I guess she had applied to do a master's at like a state school, and they were like, "No, we're looking for younger candidates." Isn't that horrible?
Jeez.
And then she applied to Yale, and they like let her in
This
and gave
is
her a full ride,
wow.
which is amazing because she wouldn't have, who we wouldn't have been able to
I
afford
mean,
that.
there's very few people who can afford that.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's why we ended up in Connecticut. And so there was a year where my dad was still working in Ohio and we lived in Connecticut. We
Okay.
just lived apart.
Okay. So where does music come into this story of 20 different places in 7 different states and like
Yeah. It's just something I always loved. Like I knew since I was a child, I knew since I was like 4 years old that I wanted to do this. This is the only thing I've ever wanted to do, like ever. I had this is I feel like this is such a typical cliche story, but this is my story. Um I my grandma was she just recently passed actually like a month ago, and she was like a huge inspiration cuz she could sing. Like she could sing,
she had it?
but she was like a 1950s housewife and wasn't allowed to do that.
Mhm.
And so she would just always sing, and she had this old baby grand piano that's like it was super beat up. It could not hold a tune, and she passed that down to my mom. So
Okay.
my whole childhood is just, them singing and playing duets and my mom tinkering on the piano and me like crawling underneath it. Like those are my first memories.
That's awesome.
So I yeah, and then I would try, teach myself to play and learn things on this, old beat up piano. So that's really like where music came from. So I don't really come from a musical family, but a lot of love for the creative arts.
Yeah. And so did you pick up piano as your first instrument? Sounds like that's what it was.
Yeah, I'm definitely more of a piano player than I am a guitar player. I
Okay.
just learned recently to play guitar. Still learning.
Yeah, I mean, but obviously, for my son, we want to put him in piano lessons, and I remember watching an interview with I think it was Flea, the bassist for the
Oh,
Chili
really?
Peppers, and he was like, "Everything that's possible in music is literally laid out right there in front of you."
Yeah.
Right? And
Yep.
so it's the best way to learn music and theory. I don't know anything about music theory. And so, I'm jealous of people who are able to have that I don't know, side of their brain and compute all that stuff. But
Yeah, it's tough, but yeah, I agree with that. Like that's what got me through my music theory classes is like I could see it
yeah.
just like laid out there. So yeah, if you want to learn music theory, you got to learn a piano.
Yep.
You just got to.
Yep. So where'd you go to school?
North Texas.
North Texas? Okay.
Hmm.
Awesome.
For jazz.
Really?
So,
All right.
you know.
Did you like were you in a jazz band and all that stuff? Or were you just I mean, that's where you were studying?
Well, yeah, that's just where I was studying. I really loved it though. I wanted to well, let me I really loved jazz. I did not love school. Um
It's fair.
I my very first school for a year I went to Boston University for opera. And so I was studying opera and I was like, I don't want to do this. And they like, I mean, it's so uptight in music schools and they just could not see anything as another form of music. Like it's only classical, it's only opera,
Yeah.
it's only art songs. I was like, screw this. So I like transferred down to North Texas, which ended up being my like family history. And I go there and I go to the jazz department. I'm like, yeah, they're cool. Nope. There's nothing but jazz. There's no other music. Pop music and rock music and country is just like
Mm,
dumb and horrible and stupid. And it's so funny because we had these classes where you had to like perform, and I did a whole research project on Western swing. And
mhm.
then my friend and I, we did this little Western swing group where we're like in girl harmonies the whole time. It was so good. Like it was killing music, and it's
Awesome.
swing, like
Yeah.
upright bass. And all these guys are just like bebop nerds, and I'm like just hated it. And I was like, all
Uh,
right, well, now they're all like web developer. Like none of them do music
yeah,
anymore.
no.
So
That's awesome. And so after you graduated, is that when you moved down to Austin?
no, I actually stayed in Denton for like 10 years.
Really?
And
Okay.
then we moved to Los Angeles for 2.5 years,
Gotcha.
and then moved to Austin in summer of 2021.
Mm.
And obviously, like we had been into Austin a million times to
Yep.
play and whatever. So
Right.
we knew that we were out in LA, and I was like, all right, we got to go back to Texas.
So when you say we, it's you and your husband?
Mhm.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep. Me, my husband, and 2 dogs.
Nice.
So
All right. Well, let's dive into your music a little bit because, as part of prep for the show, I typically listen to your entire catalog, and
love it.
I mean, first of all, the cover of Rhiannon is tremendous.
Thank
I
you.
told my mom she's a big Stevie Nicks fan, big Fleetwood Mac fan. I was like, all right, you got to go check this out, mom. So just special shout out to that song.
Yeah. Hi, mom.
But so how long have you I mean, it sounds like obviously you've been playing piano and guitar and been a part of music, but how long would you say that, the concept of being a singer-songwriter kind of came out and you're like, I know you said this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, but when did you start songwriting and how is
Mm.
that process for you?
I definitely dabbled with it in, like, in high school, and I would try to write, like, I was only playing piano at the time, so I was just trying to write little piano
Mhm.
at the time, like, coming off the heels of, like, Tori Amos and all those, like, and Fiona Apple, like,
Mhm.
angry women on a piano. I was like, "Hell yeah, that's what I wanna do."
Yeah.
But that never really stuck, to be honest, and so, really, it was in college, I tried again to do, like, piano
Okay.
singer-songwriter stuff, and I won, like, a couple songwriting competitions, but then after that, like, very much went into writing with a band, and I wanted to do like full band
Yep.
stuff. And kind of eventually made my way back to singer-songwriter, but this time on guitar, which I think is like that was what I was hearing in my head the whole time,
Mm.
if that makes sense. Like I
Mhm.
would listen to folk and country Americana and hear what I wanted to do, but I couldn't really get there on piano.
Yeah.
So I kind of like took a break from that for a while just to do band stuff before I was like, I just have to learn the guitar.
So when you were So is this like pedal steel, maybe like a fiddle
In
and
my band?
yeah, or is that what you
No,
were
it
going
was
for?
like
Or is like,
synthesizers. It was
oh
like
shit,
pop.
okay. All
It
right.
was like nothing like what I do now.
Okay, gotcha.
And it very much, I think, like, it was a really fun little foray into like dancey pop type stuff, but it really also wasn't me.
Hmm.
So it's like this whole my whole like I feel like my whole musical journey has just been like I love everything, and then you
Mhm.
peel away the layers of all of the everything that you love but isn't quite you until you find who you are. And for me it just took a really long time
Yeah.
to get there.
Well, I mean, you don't know until you try, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, like you said, you had this sound in your head, and then once you found that sound, it might have was like, it's not really me, but that
Yeah.
was fun.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly. Exactly.
that's cool. So it was like more poppy. I mean, synthesizer kind of says it all. It's cool.
Yeah.
All right. And so do you have any of that music like published? Is that out there?
I'm going to tell you no.
All right, folks. SoundCloud. We're gonna find this.
I'm gonna tell you no. It's not that it's bad, it's just like not really me,
Hmm.
you know?
No, that's fair. Okay,
Um, but now I write exactly like who I am, and I write all the time. So
that's good.
yeah.
How many songs do you think you have in your songbook in your catalog?
I was thinking about this. Pro- I probably only have like probably just over 100, which is not that many compared to like the Nashville guys that write like 3 times a day.
Yeah, I mean, but that's yeah.
But I did a kind of self challenge one year where I think I wrote like 53 songs in one year. So that makes up the bulk of them.
It's no easy task.
It was really fun. I learned so much. And honestly, not all of them are bad. You
Yeah,
gotta write some bad stuff to
yeah, yeah.
figure out how to write
Get
the
it
good
out.
stuff. But some of them I'm like, this is a very good song. And some of them have ended up on like my EP or my
Nice.
my record coming up. So but yeah, well, I only play out probably like 20-ish,
Okay.
right now.
Yeah.
And the rest are kind of like under wraps. But
So what's your creative process? What's your songwriting process?
I have this down to like a science now.
I love to hear it.
I used to write just as an exercise because you really should keep exercising that like creative muscle.
Yeah.
Um, but I would say right now, because I just finished an album and I'm not in writing mode at all, I only write when I really feel that and feel inspired, which let me just say for anyone out there, don't do that. You should write every day. You absolutely should write every day.
Mm.
But right now, when I'm feeling inspired, I will get out my laptop
Mhm.
and I set up a Word document that is just like a template, like verse, chorus, bridge,
Okay.
chorus, chorus.
Yeah.
And I immediately write down the name of the idea because I have like a song, a bank on my phone of like ideas.
Okay.
Immediately write down the idea, my name, the date, and the key. And then I come up with some small chord progression. And once I have that progression, I have to write the words and the melody at the exact same time. So for me, I cannot write a poem and then set it to music.
Yeah.
They have like the melody and lyrics inform each other. And so
Interesting.
I have to write the melody and lyrics at the exact same time.
That's a really I've never heard an artist
Really?
explain that I mean, like you said, there's and I'm sure there's artists that do this, but you write a poem and then you put music to it. That's just not how it works for you.
Yeah.
But it's very it seems like a very structured way of
Yeah.
doing things. Like it seems like there's a you find creativity through the process of like opening up a Word document,
Mhm.
having your little title block at the top, and having
Yeah.
like the words chorus, whatever on there. That's cool. That's unique.
Yeah, I mean, I used to not do that. I mean, I think it's so, it's so like we want to romanticize it and be like, I was writing in my leather-bound journal and like all that. But like it's just a mess. First of all, your hand is not as fast as typing and like
Hmm.
it becomes a mess and you're just scribbling things out and erasing and your hand is cramping
Yeah.
up. Like if you really want to like let the floodgates open, you have
Hmm.
to like have a way of physically allow that to happen. So you just have
Yeah.
to be like, you know,
It's giving yourself the freedom to think more.
yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Okay. And so not in your songbook on your computer.
Mhm.
You have
Mhm.
roughly 100 songs. All right, that's cool. So whenever you write songs, do you have like God, this is such a freaking podcast question.
I love
uh
it.
so do you write songs for Katrina? Or do you write songs for a specific audience in mind? Do you write songs for a specific album? Um,
I That's a good question. I generally just write songs for me,
okay.
but when I was doing that year of like I'm going to write at least one a week type situation, I was writing I would take certain ideas and say I want to write a song like that.
Hmm.
So, like my song New Mercedes, and this was actually outside of that year. This was prior to that, but I was like I wanna write a Shania Twain song.
Yeah.
Like, I want that to be the
Yeah.
song. But then there's other songs, like, I have a song on my new record that has basically a yodel in the chorus, and
Hmm.
the reason that whole song came about is because I wanted to have a song where I can use my vocal break like that and, like, try basically yodeling.
Yeah. Oh,
And so
have you
that's
heard
why I
of
wrote it.
Neck Shoulders? I
Mm,
think that's his name. He opened up for Turnpike Troubadours down.
I've
He's a
heard of
yodeler
him.
from God, I'm gonna screw it up. Maybe West Virginia,
Okay.
Tennessee, Kentucky, somewhere in
Yeah. I'll have to look him up.
um anyways,
Yeah.
tremendous yodeler. Check him
Okay.
out.
I
Yeah.
will check him out. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So sorry I cut you off. Talking about the creative process.
Yeah. No, just like what I if I write for other people or not. Like
Yeah.
I go to Nashville, or I used to go like once a month and I don't as much anymore, but
Mm,
I used to go and just write with people and just hope those songs went
yeah.
somewhere. And those I was pretty much always writing for other people. I think
Gotcha.
one time, actually twice we wrote a song for me, and one of them actually got cut on my record. But
Nice.
um, excuse me, but most of the time when I go there, I am trying to write for other people because it's really useful to learn from other people. Like you should always be learning, just like as an adult in the world, like you are always a student, in my
Mm-hmm.
opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So when I go there, I'm not like, oh, cool, I get this opportunity to write in this writer's room with Nashville writers. Let's make it about me. No, I'm like,
Yeah.
how do I learn from you? Who is this going to be for? Does it go nowhere? But I learn like a different writing technique. Great. Like
Yeah.
that's my philosophy there.
So when you were spending time in Nashville, how'd you get plugged in up there? Just through the industry?
Yeah, just friends. Like
Okay.
I had some friends there already because of my experience on The Voice, which is why I recorded Rhiannon. I don't know if you knew that.
I had no idea you were on The
Yeah.
Voice. Holy shit. All right, we're gonna get into that.
That's so funny that if you Googled me and didn't find that, that's awesome, actually.
Yeah. Well, to be honest with you, it's like Spotify and social media. So
Love it. Love it.
okay.
But yeah, I had friends from that, and then just when playing around town or even around the country, you will find people that either are in from Nashville or
Mhm.
spent time there, and there's all sorts of connections to that town. So then I just started going, and the first like 3 or 4 times I went there, I showed up with zero plans. I just booked a flight and went. And
Nice.
every single place I went, I would run into someone I knew.
Cool.
'Cause it's just a really small town.
I mean,
Like, it's physically small. Like, if I
yeah.
DoorDash something and it's only 6 minutes away, but it's still, like, across the river. Like, it's physically
Yeah.
small. So, it's cool. Yeah, I like going there.
Let's talk about The Voice real quick. So
Okay.
when was that?
That was in 2018, season 15. It was actually right before I moved to LA. So, it was the end
Okay.
of 2018 is when it aired.
What was your biggest takeaway from that experience? Like when you think of The
Um,
Voice, what emotions or like, I don't know, just events is the first thing that comes to mind?
um, I'll say this, it's a game show.
Mhm.
I like to remind people it is listed as a game show on NBC's website. And the reason I say that is because not to like pull the curtain back or burst anyone's bubble, but again, it is a game show.
Mm.
It's not the music industry. It's literally nothing to do with the music industry. It's just entertainment.
Interesting.
And so the best thing you can do, I'm gonna say this as if there's someone listening who wants to audition. The best thing you can do if you make it through that process is to connect with other people there, which is something that I kind of did, but didn't do probably as much as I should have.
Mm.
The best thing you can do is connect with other people there, other artists, other hopefuls that,
Expand your network.
yeah, expand your network that you can use once you're off the show.
Yeah.
Because whether you win or you lose or you don't even get to audition, you are going to be off the show. This is not
Yeah.
your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's usually what I tell people.
That's a good outlook though. I mean, yeah, you could take home the trophy and it's just going to collect dust if
Yeah.
you haven't made the connections and,
Yeah.
done anything with it. Right.
Yeah.
Um, when was Jordan Matthew Young on The Voice? Wasn't he on The
He
Voice?
was on The Voice before me. I don't know because I don't really like. I actually had never seen it when I went on it, but
Oh, really?
I don't know like the seasons. But he was on it prior to me.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So sorry, that just threw me for a loop. That's cool though.
Yeah.
Um, but you didn't really, it sounds like, you, you weren't able to springboard that into anything other than maybe just some network opportunities.
Yeah. Like I used.
That question sounded really bad how I phrased it, but
Yeah. Thanks for telling me I'm a failure. No, I'm just kidding.
I was like, shit.
No. I think it's really good because I went on it a few rounds and I was, I use that mostly. I try to keep up with some of the people,
Hmm.
and then also like to be completely honest with you, for private gigs, it usually means I can charge more.
Oh, yeah.
So I do keep it in my bio for when it's like an interesting
Yeah.
piece of information for people, or if it helps me book kind of higher end corporate gigs. Because when I play private gigs, it's usually in the luxury space. So that
Okay.
helps like solidify that
Yeah.
clientele really likes that. So that's kind of what I use it for. And if it's not useful to me, then I just take it out of my bio.
Yeah.
So it's just like any other job
Yeah. It's
resume
a
thing.
resume thing.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And you have professionally cut quality recordings of yourself.
Yeah.
Right? So that's cool. So kind of getting more into your music, where have you recorded or I guess let's start there. Where have you recorded in Austin?
I have recorded at, let's see, Arlen. I just went to Arlen. I've played at Arlen, but I finally did like a little session there for the first time. It was amazing. It's like highlight of my life.
Who were you
Um,
working with at Arlen?
I worked with I brought my engineer in. His name is Chris Bell,
Okay.
and he works there a lot. But we were having Brendan Anthony. He's a fiddle player. He plays with like Pat
Mm-hmm.
Boone and stuff.
Yeah, wasn't he the commissioner of Texas Music?
He was, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and now he's over at Big Loud Records now.
Yeah.
But he played fiddle on a couple songs for the
Awesome.
record. So I'm very excited about
Yeah.
that. Yeah. So I worked with McFarlane. I cut some demos at Orb Studios with
Not familiar.
they do like pretty big stuff,
Okay.
but it's like kind of way out there. Like I don't remember where it was. I just remember I was driving on like 290 or something. Like one of those
Like
roads that
outdoor
just like
stripping?
maybe.
Okay.
I'm gonna be real honest. I don't know. I just
That's
follow what the
follow
directions.
GPS
Yeah.
and
But I do remember I was like, this is like not in town.
yeah, okay.
Um,
So Orb.
but yeah, I did some demos there with Dante De Paoli, who is an engineer who works around town. And then I think that's it. I did my record out in Wimberley. So that's not technically Austin.
I mean,
But
but it's still country.
Austin, yeah,
That's
Austin
Austin
area.
adjacent.
So yeah.
So let's talk about this new record.
Yeah.
So, is there a theme? What's the big goal with the record?
Yeah.
Please.
I love this question. It's so funny because all of these songs, I actually arranged them in a theme, and I'm not sure if I want to
Is that
keep
right?
that track listing. But basically, I
Okay.
had these songs. I have all these songs, and I decided on this is how it happened. I decided on 5 that I wanted to record
Mhm.
with a possible 6, and the
Okay.
recording went so fast and flawlessly that we recorded
Beautiful.
11.
Oh, wow.
So, we recorded
Whoa.
11 songs, guitar, bass, drums, acoustic, guitar, vocals, and background vocals in 4 days. 11 songs, and I'm really proud of that fact.
Tremendous.
I'm very excited about it. Um,
Is this the same band that you always play with?
Mostly, yeah.
Okay.
So, somebody just asked me this the other day. He's like a manager, and he was like, "So your band is like with you full time?" And I was like, "Sir, like if I could afford to have them on retainer and pay them salaries, yes, they'd be with me full time.
Yeah, but
But they can't be exclusive to me." So I have like my husband is my lead guitar player.
okay.
One of my closest friends from college, he's my bass player. So
Nice.
we are like a trio. And
Cool.
then the drummer, I have like 2 drummers on call that kind of swap in and out. And when there's like budget, I can add like fiddle or whatever. But that's kind of the core
Okay.
unit. And because of that, that's why the recording went so fast.
Yeah.
And the drummer we got for the session is another friend of mine from college and plays with both my husband and my bass player so much
Oh, nice.
that it was like,
Yes.
it all fell into place.
Yeah, everything gels at that point.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Everybody knows how everybody plays.
Yeah.
So it's funny you're talking about a theme. So I went to Kathleen Legender's album release party last night at White
Oh,
Horse.
how was that?
Beautiful.
Oh my
And
gosh.
the album's awesome. I don't know if
Yeah.
you've had a
I
chance
haven't
to listen
listened to
to
it yet.
any
I
of
was
his
like
songs.
seeing her posts come up and I was like, oh, I got to remember to listen.
Yeah. But I realized something, and it kind of ties into your theme and a point you made earlier. She was before a couple of her songs. She's like, I wanted to write this type of song,
Mhm.
so I wrote this type of song, and here it is. And so, is that a common thing with musicians? I mean, I play guitar, but I'm not a songwriter.
Mhm.
So, is that a common thing where people are like, yeah, I want to go write this type of song, so I'm going to go write this type of song?
I think
Uh,
so because it keeps it fresh.
Yeah,
Because if I rely on every time I'm inspired to write, a lot of times it'll just be like sad, weepy,
yeah,
acousticy, I don't know, like Ray LaMontagne crap.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Not
yeah.
crap because Ray
I was
LaMontagne is
gonna say
amazing.
Ray
But you know what
LaMontagne.
I'm
Yeah,
saying? Where
yeah.
like when you hear someone who, and this happens a lot in songwriter circles and songwriter like workshops. And please forgive me, everyone who's listening is going to like light their phones on fire when they listen to this if they're a songwriter. But a lot of times when you go to those, they end up being like they try to be so highbrow and it's just so sad and so like,
Mhm.
oh, like let me look inwards and
Yeah,
come on this journey with me. But then
sulking.
every single person is like that.
Mhm.
And for me, and it sounds like maybe for Kathleen Legender too, or like other artists, it's like sometimes you need that breath of fresh air. How do I write a song like this? How do I do
Mhm.
this? How do I do that? So that when you play a set of music, it is an interesting, yeah,
You're
highs and
up, yeah,
lows and
up, down.
an interesting thing for people to listen to. And I think the only time that it's not until you get into an extremely niche space where you want absolutely like no variety. For example, if you are hired specifically to keep the dance floor
Mhm.
poppin' at a honky tonk, you're only going to play up tempo stuff.
Right,
But if you are at like a venue that only seats like 30 people and it's listening room style, you could
right.
totally just look inwards. But
Yeah.
I think like
It's a
for
good
me,
point.
yeah, if you wanna have
It's a really good point.
a show that is, like, a variety that people can, like, listen to and really have,
Yeah.
like, a fun time and not just be like, "Oh, this is background now, I'm just drinking to it, or I'm just
Yeah,
crying
she had
to
a
it,"
couple
whatever.
waltzes, and then she's
Yeah.
got the yeah,
That's amazing that she did that, and that's
yeah.
how I feel too about music, so,
Well,
yeah.
yeah. Okay, I'm sorry we diverted from your album there,
That's okay.
but I mean that I was thinking about that last night, because I'm like, yeah, I guess that makes sense. Like the other thing you mentioned before we get deep into your album, my friend Erica, who was on this show, I
Mhm.
guess y'all are doing a competition together.
We are. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, she's so sweet. She told me, she was like, "You should enter this competition." Now we're competing against each other.
Oh no, that's awesome. Um, that's
But
cool.
yeah.
What's this competition about?
So it's Green Studios. They've just opened fairly recently. It
Mm,
was a recording studio for a while down in New Braunfels, and then they took it over. Um, but they are basically putting on a little singer-songwriter competition, and
hmm.
the winner gets like 2 free songs tracked, mixed, recorded.
Oh wow. Okay.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
tracked, mixed, and mastered. So yeah. So
Nice. And
and I
yeah,
told
so
Erica, I was like, because I enter so many songwriter competitions, I
yeah.
win like none of them, but I usually just enter them because A, I want to meet people. And B, I want to learn. So whenever like somebody wins, I'm like, why did they win? Let me listen to that song.
Yeah.
That's an amazing song. Why don't I write like that? And then you try to just sort of like, what is the device they use that made that song so good? I need to start writing like that.
That's such a great outlook. Anytime you can become a student of whatever game you're
Exactly.
playing. I mean, think about a guy like Kobe. He was a student of basketball.
Yeah.
That's such a lame freaking
No,
but
not at all. I get
but
it.
my point is like if you're that hungry to be good that you're like, I don't even give a shit about winning. It's all
Yeah.
about just learning and being the best version of me. To me, that's guaranteed success in anything you do.
Yeah.
And forget about money. I'm just saying success, whatever your
Yeah.
definition of success is.
Exactly. Yeah.
So sorry, going back to your album,
Yeah.
got us on sidetrack there. So you have 11 tracks
Hmm.
on the album. When are you planning on putting it out?
I don't know.
Okay.
I am trying to shop it around a little bit, and see if anyone's interested. And if not, I'll start putting it out. And I also really want to be fully ready with, unfortunately, the like content piece of it,
God, that's such a
which makes me want to
beast.
jump off the 360 bridge. But it's very frustrating that you can work so hard. I mean, some of these songs I wrote like 3 years ago. Like these songs are so old at this point, and I
Mhm.
love them. And we brought them into a fresh way in the record, and it's so good, and the
Yeah.
recorded, blah blah blah. And I'm so excited about it, but I can't put it out unless I have content.
Right.
And in addition to that, even if you say screw the content, I can't put it out unless I have a very substantial marketing budget. But I'm spending all my money on recording the record
Mm.
because I'm independent, so I don't have
Yeah.
financial backing.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's just like a very long process.
Mm.
But
That whole
it is what it is.
just I mean, it's just the way the world works with social
Yeah.
media and all that whole marketing piece. It's just I mean, you touched on it already. You spent years of your life preparing this beautiful album. You go and you lay it down in record time, which
Mhm.
if you were at some I mean, Arlen's a pretty big time studio. I can imagine
Yeah.
how much that would have cost at a studio like
Oh my
Arlen,
gosh.
right?
Yeah.
And and then now you have to worry about how you're gonna post it
Yeah.
on Instagram.
I
Like, that
know.
is just nuts to me. But there's always a marketing side of music,
Yeah.
right? Always. But it's
Yeah.
just I don't know, maybe it's just because it's our generation, like, that's what it is. I don't know. It just bothers me.
It's just sad because I think it's you're right, there's always been a marketing piece, and in fact, like, the idea even of separating things by genre was a whole thing for, like, radio. It's just like, how do we market these, like, on the
Mhm.
radio, basically?
Yeah.
If you're a music history buff, please, in the comments, school me on that because I don't fully know. But, yeah, but there's always been a marketing piece, but it's gotten to the point where, like, we are not really, um how do I put this? It's like it's just become so invasive that even the independent musician can't celebrate the win of recording a piece of art, and we have to basically make content not even for that piece of art but for like, how do I think 18-year-olds will react to this? How do I think 35-year-olds will react to this? How do
Mm.
I put content like on Facebook, my demographic's completely different than TikTok, you know what I mean? Because of like, so
Oh,
now I'm like
yeah.
thinking about these crazy things that has nothing to do with the music. Like either you like it or you don't. I don't care
Period.
if you don't like it,
Yeah.
but the fact that I'm trying to get you to like buy into it and then like go viral for more people to buy
Yeah.
into it bothers me.
Yeah.
And that should not even be my job, but it
But it
is because
is.
I'm I'm
Like
independent, so it
like
is. But yeah, I just think it's just frustrating and it just takes away from the like the art itself,
yeah.
I think.
So you made a comment you wanna shop it around.
Yeah.
Explain that to me.
I want to shop it to labels
Okay.
and I'm not necessarily, I'm not like a big fan of like the traditional label deal.
Yeah.
And I'm also not under any like um I don't necessarily think I'll get signed to some like life-changing record deal because they're just banks. They just loan you money. So it's not really like something that
Mm.
people in this day and age really want necessarily, but
Yeah.
a lot of times, sometimes you can find just a distribution deal or
Okay.
some kind of smaller agreement or even just like distro companies that aren't the big ones. So like uh DistroKid, TuneCore, CD Baby are where
Mm.
anybody like you could
Okay.
release anything, but there are other distribution companies that are a little bit more that are smaller and
Yeah.
you kind of got to like get a deal with them to get
I see.
in. And something like that would be helpful because you have people in your corner who are helping you with that distribution and helping you get the music out there. Whereas like
Gotcha.
if I have an issue with my music now and I go to DistroKid, I get a bot. Like I have to contact customer service.
Uh,
Do you see what I'm saying? It's like,
yeah.
why am I
God.
why am I contacting customer service? And this is also a bot, like it's not a human
Right.
about my music. This is
Yeah.
my job. Like this is my job. So it's I don't know.
That reminds me of the post you put on your story last night of that AI group that has like 300,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. That is just freaking outrageous.
I
Um,
That made me so mad. And I knew about this, but like you hear the whisperings of it,
mhm.
but then when you see it like happen, you're
Yeah.
it's unbelievable. And what I have heard from multiple sources, one of whom is actually at Spotify, I have heard that Spotify is making a lot of these AI groups and a lot of this AI music
There's no doubt about it
and flooding their
in my mind.
own yeah,
Yeah.
flooding their own like
Yeah.
playlists because they are then collecting the Spotify royalties. So it's going back into their
It's a
pocket.
business. Like,
Yeah.
if you found a revenue source to your business, why would you not do that? I
Yeah.
mean, like, I don't agree with it, but
Yeah.
it makes sense from a business standpoint. Like, they're
Yeah.
gonna make a shit ton of money off that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's just crazy.
Yeah. God. Anyways, sorry.
That's okay. This is my type of combo.
Yeah. So what is the theme of the album if you would like to touch on that?
Yeah. I'm actually kind of deciding. So I'll tell
Okay.
you.
Okay.
There's this whole arc of like sort of this I have them arranged in a way right now, and this might change, but there's a way that the tracks line up where it tells this story of, basically meeting someone, falling in love, breaking it off, um, and then going to, like, the very depths of, like, the very lowest point, like, hungover on the
Mm.
floor,
Mhm.
just the worst place you can be in, like, just be and this has nothing to do with really love, but just, like, when you're so heartbroken over something
Mhm.
in your
Yep.
life,
Yep.
and then you are just like, I've been doing the worst things, being the worst person, and you're just, like, the just at your absolute lowest, and then this sort of turn up where it's like, is there is there redemption for me, and is there anything
Hmm.
anybody out there listening, like some kind of higher power, maybe even. And can I come back from all of this? Can I be saved, basically?
Okay.
And so that's kind of like the way the tracks can line up, which makes a lot of sense to me. It's
Yeah.
sort of like I didn't set out writing the album that way, but it became this conversation between songs, if that makes sense. Like I have this one and then this one that talks back to it, if that makes sense.
And through those songs, back to your point about having a different style of it might have a
Mhm.
sad undertone, but maybe it's more of an upbeat melody or something. Like, do you change melodically and you change you know, just from a musicality standpoint
Yeah.
throughout the album?
Yeah, so there are some kind of darker songs that are up tempo. There are
Mhm.
some really slow, sad, type songs. There's songs that are just like rock. Like I have a song that is quite honestly just a rock song. It's
Hell yeah.
it's not country
Love
at
it.
all.
Bust
Um
your telly out for that?
I didn't.
Oh,
You
come
know
on.
what? That's my goal by the end of the year. I want to play it live. But I'm
Okay.
scared. So,
I
I just
mean,
started learning.
that's fair.
Um it's also hard. This is a tangent, but it can be difficult if you actually are like, if you're educated in music, it makes you, or like in a thing, it doesn't matter, but music just happens to be the thing I was educated in. If you're educated in that, if you want to pick up something new, the barrier of entry almost feels worse because I know what good people on that instrument sound like. I went to school with them
I see.
and they're all jerks. And I know that they think I suck. And also, I know I suck because I know what it's like to study music and I know that I am suck at the guitar, for example.
Yep.
So, like sometimes like you just have to quiet that voice. Like I really do wish I had gotten into stuff as a kid cuz kids really take to stuff so
Mhm.
much easier and they don't
Mhm.
always. I remember being frustrated learning things as a kid, but as an adult, I'm like, man, I really wish that I had stuck with, you know,
Yeah.
different things I tried. Anyway, sorry, that's a tangent.
No, it's an interesting point. Makes me think of my son was jamming to Another Hour yesterday. We were at we were at Still Austin. They're doing their sound check. He's 2.
Yeah,
And so he loves any kind of he will, bop his head to the beat at 2 years
I
old. And
love that.
I get so excited. I'm like, yes, we will throw you in piano and we will lock you into a room until you
Yeah.
know Beethoven at 4.
Hell yeah.
you know?
Well, the thing is about kids, and I'm really passionate about this, so I'm sorry I'm gonna take time to talk about it.
No, please.
The thing is, you people always ask. It's just the 10,000 hour rule. That's all it
Mhm.
is. So people always ask, like, wow, why are you like so on pitch and like you can sing harmonies and this and that? And, they'll say that to people who are, up there doing it professionally. Most of the time, it's because we started when we were kids.
Mhm.
So if you start something that young, your ear is more tuned to it and your
Mhm.
muscle memory is
Yep.
there. Whereas it's not as an adult. And then when you're an adult, you get frustrated more easily.
Yep.
So, like, the only reason that I am very solid on harmonies is because I started when I was like 4. I sang in like a little church choir when I was 4. I sang like a little solo. I'm sure it sounded bad then,
Didn't matter.
but it didn't matter because I was learning how to do that and being
Mhm.
immersed in that. So it becomes second nature to you in a way that like other things did not, like sports. The kids who are put into hockey leagues when they're 3
Yeah.
are pro hockey
Yeah.
players now. Same thing with soccer and all that.
Yeah.
Anyways, sorry. It's really important to put your kids in music. It just really is. Even if they don't become professional musicians, it really will stick with them.
Well, I mean, there's so many studies of how much it impacts your ability. I mean, mathematics and the whole
Yeah.
left side of the brain. And
Yeah.
what's the condition where you see colors when you
Synesthesia.
synesthesia? I'm
Yeah.
so jealous of people that have that.
I'm
Uh,
skeptical. I
oh
want
yeah.
proof. I
Well,
want proof that you have that.
there's a gal on the old Instagram that she's got a lot of followers and she like paints,
That's
whatever
cool.
she sees.
Yeah.
But who knows? I've never, I don't think I know anybody with it, but
Yeah. I don't either. I just remember hearing about it and being like, "Wow, that's amazing." And then I remember seeing everybody on TikTok being like, "This song is yellow." And I'm like, "Is it?
that's why I don't get on TikTok.
Is it yellow?" But I do agree. I know that there are people who have that. It's just it's funny when things go viral. Sorry,
Yeah.
I did not mean to like.
No, it's all right. Um, I mean, we were just talking through the theme of the album. So when are you going to release it? You think after or I already asked you that. You said you're shopping it
Yeah,
around.
I
Sorry.
don't know. I don't really have a firm release date. And I
Okay.
don't mean for that to sound like I'm nebulous on it. I just don't want to set something and then not hit it.
That's
Where I
fair. I
still
mean,
have like,
if you're not in any rush, why rush the process for yourself and you can
yeah.
continue to do what you're doing
It's
around town
it's
and
funny because emotionally I am in a rush. I hate that it's not released yet. But
well, I think you're just that's part of the creative process.
yeah,
You've put something out there
gotta be
and
patient.
you want to show the world your art.
Yeah. I
Um,
really do. I want to show everybody, but I have to like do it the right way.
yeah, that's fair. So let's jump into Austin, Texas.
Okay.
So you got your Antone's jacket
Yep.
on, which We don't have video yet on the show, but we will soon. So where do you fit in the Austin scene, or where do you wanna fit in? What's
Yeah.
and I hate to pigeonhole you, but, like, where if people wanna catch a Katrina Cain show, excuse me,
Mhm.
where are they going? What
Um,
venues?
I have a question. I'm gonna
Yeah,
turn that back on you. What
got
do
it.
you think
Oh, shit.
and please pigeonhole it. I wanna
Yeah,
know. I'm
okay.
curious.
Well, see, my thing is, A, I've already seen you,
Yeah.
but, I would say Antone's Continental Club. Um, I could definitely see you at Whitehorse. Probably Sagebrush.
Okay.
Probably Sagebrush because Sagebrush has, I mean, it's a country venue,
Yeah.
right? But they have a lot of. I mean, Nico Little played out there. Like they have rock and blues,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
um, so yeah, I could see it Sagebrush. That's my answer.
Well, yeah, that's the best answer. That's exactly what I hoped for.
Okay, good. Hell yeah, I got it.
It's so funny you say that about sagebrush too, because I suggested that to someone who was in from out of town. And I don't remember who it was. I think it was someone I didn't know. I just like
Hmm.
someone was like, "Hey, do you live here? Can I,
Hmm.
give me a suggestion?" And they told me that they were going to Sagebrush specifically to see like Texas like honky tonk music, and then there was like just some rock band playing, and I was like they were just disappointed because they wanted the Texas thing,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it
yeah.
almost made me happy because I was like, yes, see, like it's diverse, like
It,
music is so diverse,
mm,
and if a venue can be diverse too, that's amazing.
yeah.
And I was also sorry, another tangent. I was thinking about this because I was listening to Red Clay Strays. Do you know of them?
Oh yes.
I
Tremendous.
can't think of anyone that sounds like them really. Like there are these really like almost like
Yeah.
vintage elements to like the vocals or the songwriting. It's
Hmm.
not that it's brand spanking new and like weirdly out. It's
No.
just I can't think of anyone current that sounds like them or past.
Well, I mean,
It's
for
just a nice
them, there's
mix.
like a gospel undertone to their
Yeah.
music.
Yeah.
I What comes to mind when I think Red Clay Strays, and I'm not saying they sound like it, but what Alabama Shakes did on the Sound and Color album, where there
Oh.
was like, I mean, Britney is just a freaking
Oh my
monster,
gosh, yes.
and from the South,
Yeah.
from Bama,
Yeah.
got that kind of Southern churchy gospel
Yeah.
undertone to it, which I think they just got back together, Alabama Shakes.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I saw
Um,
that Britney was doing like a metal band in Nashville and I was like, that's amazing.
she's tremendous.
Yeah.
But I don't know, and shit, somebody's gonna tear me apart for making that parallel, but whatever.
No, I
Uh,
think that's the thing. If one we're all inspired by so many different things
yeah.
as musicians. Like there are a lot of different artists that I'm inspired by that have nothing to do with country,
Mhm,
but they are very uniquely in my music. And
mhm,
that's what I think makes you your own voice. So if
yeah.
someone was like, "Oh yeah, she's awesome. She's a Casey Musgraves copy." I'd be like,
Mm,
"That's actually like I love Casey Musgraves," and still I'd be offended because I don't
yeah.
ever want to be a copy of
Yeah.
somebody, you
Right.
know?
Right.
So,
Yeah, and that has to be tough as an artist because you do emulate
yeah.
who you're, you know, even in my guitar playing, I'm like Stevie Ray is like that's
Yeah.
my model, right?
Yeah.
That's who I try to play after. That's like all my gear is set up around what
Yeah.
he used to play. I'm a Strat guy. I got this and that.
Yeah.
But it's like and I don't play in any bands, but like there's already been a Stevie Ray Vaughan, and there's a
Right.
million copies of Stevie Ray Vaughan. So
Yeah.
like he could be my influence, but I could see how as a singer songwriter, if someone's like, "Oh, you sound just like Casey Musgraves," like, huh.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. She's got a great voice, but I want to sound like Katrina Cain.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh, okay, so Sagebrush is your venue.
Yeah, and I'm actually playing there on July 5th.
That's right. That's gonna
So,
be a
shouting it
badass
out.
show.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that one. And the thing is, I've only ever played at Sagebrush when I've like hopped on stage at somebody else's show. So somebody
Okay,
else
yeah,
was playing a show and said, "Can you come sing this song?"
right,
So this is my first actual set with my name
yeah.
on it, and I'm really hoping that they like me.
That's gonna be great. So who else is on that bill?
Jordan Matthew Young,
Yep.
Mallory Eagle. I don't know if you know her.
Hmm.
She's from Oklahoma.
Is Connor Stevens on that?
Yeah, Connor
Okay,
Stevens put it together. So
okay,
he's
okay.
he's
Gotcha,
so
gotcha.
great. He organized this whole thing. Rob Lines? Is that his I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but it's
I'm not familiar.
Leines.
Mm-mm.
And then there's a couple other people
That's all right.
that I'm forgetting, but it's a really great lineup.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have listeners randomly enough in like the UK. I guess
Okay.
Sagebrush is one of the top 5 venues that I tell is like a
Yeah.
must. Like if you have 3 nights in Austin, you're spending
Yeah.
at least one set at Sagebrush
Yeah,
to
you
just
gotta
check it
go.
out. Sea Boys is my other one.
Oh, Seaboys is great. Seaboys is
Different vibe, but
loud.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
sorry, because they're owned by Continental and Seaboys are owned by the same
Right, yeah.
people. And I've played at Continental and I go to music there all the time. And I went to Seaboys the other night for the first time in like a couple of years for some reason. And I was like, is it louder in here or am I so old now?
It's just a narrow
It's
room.
narrow. Yeah. Acoustically, it just ends up being that way, I
Yeah,
think.
and the
Yeah.
stage is kind of like it kind of faces the bar,
Yeah.
but I mean the speakers obviously face the crowd, but like
Yeah.
so like they're kind of like as an artist, you're kind of like I don't know, a little perpendicular to the
Yeah.
stage. But I freaking love that
Yeah.
venue.
It's a
And
great venue.
Jade Room is a great little bar upstairs. And
What?
come on now, you've never been to Jade Room?
No.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Is this a secret?
No, it's
I'm just not cool.
uh no,
Dang. So, like, Continental has Continental Gallery.
right.
Seaboys has Jade Room.
Jade Room
Got it.
upstairs. Yeah,
Wow.
and it's cool.
Okay,
It's
I'm
got some
going
booths
there.
up there, and, I don't know, I love that bar in general. So you've played the folks at Chill Country. Obviously,
Mhm.
we talked through Under the Rock.
Yeah.
Have you worked with local sets, ATX, or have you met Reed?
I have not.
Okay.
But I think I follow them on Instagram or they follow me. We follow each other, I think.
I would love to introduce you to Reed
Yeah.
and
Love
what
that.
he's doing. I'll let him explain kinda his thing, but
Yeah.
Um, what else have you done around town like that? Because I think that's what makes Austin pretty unique in that there's a
Yeah.
lot of things like Jam ATX, Austin Music Love. Have you heard?
Yeah.
Yeah, local sets, the chill country folks. There's just a lot of non-venue centered people that
Yeah.
maybe they jump from venue to venue, like putting on these showcases. And is there anything else you've done like that in town?
Pretty much just Austin Music Love, I think,
Okay,
is the main other one I've done
John
that
Pantana.
yeah,
Yeah,
and I went to sort of like songwriting circle at his house and then we did a house show somewhere else in Austin and then I did something for them at the
the
Lauren
Lauren. Yeah.
Hotel, which was really
Hmm.
cool. So yeah, I love that. I love just having some kind of community thing
It's what the
pop
city's
up.
all about.
Yeah. So I love being involved with those. I follow a bunch of them. But yeah, Chill Country was great too. They're great guys. So
It's cool. So how many songs did you do out there?
I did 3.
3? Okay.
And I don't know. They were like, you can just play like whatever you want.
That's
And
cool.
so I was like, okay, I'll play. Just
Yeah.
play 3.
Yeah. Nice. So where was your first big show in town?
You know what? I was thinking about this. I consider this my first big show. I opened for my friend Reed. He goes by Reed Brothers
Okay.
for music. Um, I opened for him shortly after moving here for his record release party, and he did it at Arlen. Excuse me. And so it's not like a traditional venue, but if you are in Austin, like Arlen throws shows
Yeah.
actually like all the time. And so it was like shortly after I moved here and met him. It would have been like within the first year of
Mhm.
moving here. Um, he had me open and like they did a great job of promoting it. There must have been like 200 people there. It was crazy.
Awesome.
And yeah, I mean, there's no stage, so you're just standing on the
Yeah.
floor, but in the
You're in
actual
the
like
studio.
in the
That's what's
studio.
so badass about
It's
that
so
place. Like
cool.
I have me and my wife when they have that South by party there,
Yeah.
and that's the only thing that I go to now at South by.
Really.
Like
Did you go this past year in
I
March?
didn't know
Who was playing that?
I know
Dang.
I was we were out of town. Um but I'll never forget the first time because I never even knew. Like when I first moved to Austin, I'd spend some time at the apartment complex right there next to Arlen.
Mhm.
And I never even knew. I was new to the city. I didn't know anything about anything.
Yeah.
The first time walking in there and realizing where I was, and like I'm literally chilling in the freaking engineering room,
Yeah.
like I'm just drinking my little, ranch water, just
Yeah.
like staring at everything, and I'm looking at all these plaques on the wall, and all
I
these legends
know.
have been there.
So cool.
It's just that room in general. Like you said, there's no stage. You're literally in the recording
Yeah.
space. There's a little piano room off to the
Yeah.
side, just kind of hanging out. Like that must have been a fun deal for you.
It was really cool, and I just felt very special to be able to do that so
Yeah.
soon. Um,
Yeah, that's cool.
but probably my first, like, big show that was, like, a public I mean, that one was public if you RSVP, but, like, a public show was actually Continental, which was, like, last year, I think.
Oh, really? Okay.
But, then I consider my big show because that was, like, a bucket list venue for me. So I
Hell
played
yeah.
that with West Texas Exiles,
Oh, nice.
and I love those guys. And so, that one just stands there. I mean, I've played shows
Mhm.
throughout the years, but that one stands out as like, okay, getting somewhere.
Yeah. That's cool. Why was that? I mean, it's a freaking Continental Club, but what made it a bucket list venue for you? Just the notoriety and about
Yeah,
it?
I think just because over the years I'd been there, like since I remember going to South by when I was like 20 years old, and
Mhm.
I couldn't drink, so I couldn't get in anywhere.
Mhm.
And just over the years, every time I don't think I could get in that year, but in subsequent years, I was always ending up at Continental and just seeing these like
Yep.
crazy artists that now I
Mhm.
can't even really remember, but just really like cool shows, and it was always packed. And
Yep.
it's if you haven't been to Continental, it's old school looking. Like it's an old bar, but with the
Yep.
stage and the red curtain, whatever.
Yeah.
It's just very, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is even, like, the right parallel, but it's kinda like the Troubadour in LA where,
Hmm.
like, the city has evolved around it, but it's always just gonna be there.
Yeah.
The Continental Club is always gonna be there.
Yeah.
I mean, knock on wood, like,
Yeah.
I hope to God it always is.
Totally.
While the city does its thing around it,
Yeah.
'cause it's just a staple of the community, and,
Absolutely.
yeah, and, there's something to be said about the folks that run that place, and, they were tied to Roman, which is, like, the big blues bar that
Oh,
Stevie played at.
yeah.
It was, Texas French bread, I believe, and it burned down.
Oh my
So
gosh.
now
I
it's
didn't know
just
that
a
story.
boarded up building, unfortunately.
Hmm.
Um, but,
Gotcha.
um, but that's, like, my point is that's old Austin history,
Yeah.
you know, and for me, I'm a music nerd, I'm an Austin music nerd, so,
Yeah.
that's where it comes from. Um, so you played Continental Club,
Mhm.
you got Sagebrush coming up. Where else have you played around town?
Um,
Antone's,
feel like
obviously?
I've played everywhere. Yeah, I've played Antone's a couple times,
Okay.
which is also another like
Yeah,
legendary thing. I felt
yeah,
so special
yeah.
playing there. Antone's, Continental, got Sagebrush coming up. I've played like every little thing like Quacks, I've played a bunch,
Mhm. That's a
which
cool room.
it's a really cool room. I wish that it was in a different location.
Yeah, it's rough.
It's great that there's parking. I think that's the thing that I'm
That is
always telling
true.
people like, "Hey, it's weird, but come to
Massive
the
parking
parking."
lot,
But yeah, I think like it's just off the beaten path a
but it's
little bit, so people don't expect it to be there. So they don't have foot traffic.
you're right, but it's still South Austin, and so, like, if
Yeah.
you get the right, you know, I don't know,
Radius.
right. No, what I'm saying is if there's enough social media posting and
Oh,
you
yeah,
get
yeah, yeah.
you get the right what's the word I'm looking for? Just, like, excitement drummed up
Yeah,
around
yeah.
that, like, people are gonna show up.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's a great room, sounds great in
Yeah, it
there.
does sound really good.
Freaking awesome, and
Very
it's
lucky to
so
have
it's
that.
so unassuming. You walk in, and you're like, "Oh, okay," and then it's just, like, opens up to this big room.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
okay, so Captain Quacks, where else?
Saxon, I've played there a couple
Nice,
times.
that's a cool spot.
Saxon is also like another iconic
Yeah,
spot that I don't know, I felt so lucky to play there. And it can be hard to get booked, especially like the way if people don't know this listening, if you are trying to get booked, you need to prove that you have a draw. But a lot of times for clubs, if you aren't a big name yet, they're going to give you the latest spot. So like
mhm,
when I played Continental, my set started at midnight.
mhm,
And so it's the very latest spot. And then if you can prove yourself there, you can move up to a primetime spot, which makes sense because they need to make money. I'm
yep,
not
yeah,
knocking it at all. But just so y'all listening know, I know that you have work in the morning, but if you can take one for the team and just come
mhm,
out to a show, then we can get booked at a slot that works better for both of our schedules.
yeah.
That's that's just a little something for y'all
Well,
out
I
in the
mean,
audience.
on the that's an interesting point because so Silverado played after Catherine Gender, last night. And to your point, I only caught a couple of their songs, and I had to come home because
Yeah. No, I don't blame you at all.
uh, but because when you go to a big show like the Moody, like the last person
Yeah.
playing is the headliner.
Right.
But that's not always how it works in these smaller venues, and
Right.
I don't think a lot of people that are outside of the industry and don't go to a lot of live music truly understand that.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
like, "Oh, Katrina Cain's a headliner because she's playing at midnight." It's like, no,
No,
she's
I'm
filling a slot.
nobody. Yeah.
And no disrespect, but
Yeah,
like
no, it's
that's what it is, and
exactly.
that's an interesting point you make.
And
About
also, Austin does this the same way that it's not like this at every venue. For example, if you go to 13th Floor, which is like
hmm
metal,
hmm
it's not like this. They're packing 5 bands in like 30-minute sets, like across the
that's
board.
just the metal
That's like
genre
the
of the
rock, pop,
industry.
metal, that's
Yeah.
what it's gonna be. But when you're in kind of more on the rock and or sort of like country,
hmm
Americana, rock, singer-songwriter space, what you have is they actually treat every set like its own show. So every set is like 90 minutes.
hmm
And then you don't have to put together a bill for the venue like here's the 3 artists that want to play. You just ask to fill whatever slot. And so then sometimes like Saxon will kick people out and
Mm.
actually it's the artist's choice.
Yeah.
After the set, people need to leave and
hmm
then come back in and pay the cover again. Or
Yeah.
sometimes they'll ask the artist. Say just let them stay. They don't have to pay again
Yeah.
because I just need people to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's
but
fair.
um but yeah, that's kind of the way it works. And it's I'm this isn't me like knocking any venues. Also, I want to say like I'm just saying this is how it works and that's how they need to make money.
Yeah. No, of
But
course.
then that's why you got to prove your draw a little bit.
Yeah. So, and we kind of brushed over this, but I want to dive deep into that while we're talking about Arlen. So, what about recording at a studio like Arlen just makes it different from your perspective? Obviously, you did your album in Wimberley, and it
Yeah.
was a professional setting and everything, and but then you go to a space like Arlen, and there's like Willie Nelson plaques on the wall,
Yeah.
and like I'm pretty sure Charlie Crockett recorded his album there. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think you might be right. I mean, there's
Or
so many.
portions of his
Yeah.
album. Yeah, and you just name an artist.
I was gonna say I think Incubus has been there.
Oh, I'm sure they got a Sublime.
So maybe it's Sublime I'm thinking. I think
Yeah,
it's Sublime.
and I think it's the tie to, Willie's studio
Yeah.
back in the day, but anyways, so, somebody needs to learn me a little bit on that, but, so yeah, what was the biggest thing or like, I guess, difference maker other than it was just a legendary spot?
Yeah, I think it every studio's a little can be a little bit different.
Mhm.
Um r- in general across the board recording in a space that is considered like legendary that has those types of
Yep.
gold records on the wall and different plaques, it really feels like I feel very grateful and very lucky to be there and
Mhm.
just really privileged too. And so I think when I'm there it really causes me to like not take it for granted. I need to make sure I use up every every second of that
Yeah.
time
Yeah.
and really, treat everyone there as good as I can.
Yep.
And it just really inspires you to want to make sure your plaque is the next one on the wall. It kind of makes you
Mm.
feel good about that. But, I mean, every studio is different too. And that one in particular, I would say the vibe is um, very like I know this is weird. It's not like there's children running around, but it feels family focused. And I think it's because of
Mm.
the lines down from the Nelson
Yeah,
family and
right.
like they're all kind of and Lisa who runs it is like just chilling on the couch. Like
Mhm.
it's different than when I send stuff to get mastered at this, at places in LA or whatever. If you send it to a studio that is just run a little bit more like corporate feeling.
Yeah, I was gonna say sterile.
Sterile, exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly the word I'm looking
Yeah.
for. Arlen doesn't feel sterile, and I've recorded in like other studios that do feel sterile, but they are also legendary, and it's not knocking them at all. But there's
No.
something about Arlen that feels like home,
Yeah.
and so I think people react to that because yeah, it's not like some person in an office getting you booked and then they don't know who you are. Like, I know who
Yeah.
Lisa is. I have her phone number now. It's
Yeah.
crazy, you know?
Yeah.
So
That's
it's
cool.
awesome. Yeah.
I was listening to, have you heard the podcast One by Willie?
No.
He interviews, or like he did one with Shaky Graves, for
Mm.
instance, and where these artists come out and talk about one song that Willie Nelson wrote, and
Oh
they
my
just talk
gosh.
about that song. And as a singer-songwriter, you should definitely
Yeah,
check this out
I
because
will.
it's super, super cool and insightful. And just, I mean, he has some legends come up and talk about, like he had Bonnie Raitt
Oh
come
my
come
gosh.
talk about her experience with Willie and the Nelson family. And I think that's where he had connected the dots for me that like Willie owned a lot of the land back there, and he still might.
Mhm.
I don't know.
Mhm.
But that was before Congress was what it is today, obviously. And I think they called it like the Willie Motel or Willie
Really?
Hotel back in there because there was like some cheap old apartments and everything.
Yeah.
I'll have to send you the episode. I don't want to butcher it. I don't want to change
Yeah, I'd love to hear
the
it.
narrative of the story. But yeah, One by Willie,
Okay.
really cool podcast. Um,
I'm gonna take us on a tangent right now.
Please.
The first concert I ever saw was Willie Nelson, Bob Dylan. That's what my parents took me
Whoa,
to.
whoa.
And the opener for them was a small group called Hot Club of Cowtown that's local to Austin.
Mm,
And so I grew up on Willie Nelson. My parents love Willie Nelson, no matter
yeah,
what state I was living in.
yeah.
Which I think further proves me to be a Texan, but it's fine.
You're a
Um,
Texan.
I was literally born
You
here.
do boot
Like,
tours on your Instagram.
I
All
do.
right?
I do.
Come on.
You know what? One of the ones I have coming up, I have my baby cowboy boots. I'm going to show everyone. But
Oh god.
anyways,
All right.
but yeah, Willie Nelson was my first concert, and I'm very proud of that fact.
That's cool.
And I'm sorry, I'm going to take us on a further tangent and brag a
Please.
little bit. One of my songs that I just like have always loved and that I remember like hearing on the drives to school in the car is Last Thing I Needed, First Thing This Morning.
Mhm.
Willie Nelson. Gary P. Nunn wrote that.
Mm.
And I opened for Gary P. Nunn and
No
he was
shit.
like, sorry, I'm doing an old man voice. I'm sorry. He was like, here's a song I wrote and with, and I can't remember his co-writer's name, which I should, cause she's a woman and I should lift up women in music, but I can't remember her name. But Gary wrote this and then he was like,
Here.
I wrote this
Hey,
and then like Willie did it.
we're gonna do an old Jamie moment real quick.
Okay.
Look that up, Jamie, aka my iPhone. What was the name of the song?
Last Thing I Needed, First Thing This Morning.
Last thing I needed, first thing. It's Chris Stapleton's first one that pops up.
Oh, really? I
Yeah.
didn't even know he did it.
Songwriter. Donna Farrar.
Donna Farrar. Okay.
Okay.
Donna, shout out to you. Thanks
Yeah.
for changing my life with this song. But yeah, so I was watching from this like VIP. It was at the Kessler Theater in I opened from at the Kessler in Dallas and then the Heights in Houston.
Okay.
And they like roped off this little VIP section on the balcony or whatever that we could sit in after our set. And he was like, I wrote this song, whatever. And then like Willie recorded it and
Mhm.
whatever. And then he started playing this. And I was like, this is like my favorite Willie Nelson song. And
That's
then I was
cool.
like, I feel so like,
What a full circle moment.
yeah, I felt very proud of that.
So, what do you think about the term live music capital of the world?
I personally, I love it. I know that people have here's my take on it. I have heard of people having problems with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a couple things to that. First of all, that's going to be hard to quantify and qualify. What do you consider not what do you consider live music, but what do you take as
Yeah.
fitting into that box that we can mark it down in
Yeah.
a survey? This is,
Yeah.
are you playing at your home or is it in a venue, whatever? Like, is it a private event or whatever? I don't know how to quantify that. I don't know how to qualify it. But I will say I've lived in a lot of different places and I go to a lot of different places. I play all over.
Mm-hmm.
And there is genuinely a lot more live music here than other places. And I think if you've lived here a long time
Mm-hmm.
and if you have spent a long time here, you take it for granted.
Yeah.
Because, for example, I was just in Chicago playing. I love Chicago. It's one of my favorite cities. Chicago is known for the blues. Okay. The Chicago blues is a very specific style of blues. And I could not find any music there. There was a jazz club with some real, like, like
Yeah.
real jazz playing. And it
Yeah.
was like $50 to get in, and they didn't have any seats. You had to sit on a window ledge. Okay, so we were like, "Well, I'm not doing that."
Yeah.
Um, in
Mm.
there really is not. There are a lot of cities where there aren't a lot of just like music everywhere the
Mhm.
way there is in Austin,
Mm.
and
Interesting
there's
point.
always going to be levels to that too. You're going to have the Sixth Street bands that are
Oh, yeah.
basically like they're just cover bands, people shredding their vocal cords, 4-hour sets for $75. Like you're going to have that.
Yeah.
Some people tourists have fun with that. That's great. And then there's, I'll find some old timer blues guys in like the Driscoll bar. And then, you
Mhm.
go to some cafe and someone's singing a singer-songwriter thing. And then you've got
Mhm.
all the rock clubs and the,
Mhm.
like metal venues. And then you've got like ACL and
Yeah.
you've got big, big, big artists coming to Moody Center is the UT
Yeah.
one, right?
Yeah.
And
I
like,
mean, Fish played 2 sets there this weekend.
did they really? Oh, I wonder if that's why. It's crazy because I see I'm in a weird situation, but I live downtown right now,
Mm.
and I live basically in the Thompson Hotel. It's a long story. I don't pay for it. Okay, I'm not rich. Okay, so anyways,
You're not just gonna skip unless you wanna skip over that.
no, we won't skip over it. I can
Okay.
talk about it. But the point of it is I see like their tour buses are always parked downtown.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I see tons of tour
Yeah.
buses. So if you want to see a crappy bar band or an awesome bar band or a blues band or a famous person or a singer-songwriter or this or that or a honky tonk, like you can see it here.
Mhm.
And it really, like, I've lived in LA, there's not as much live music going on all of the time. It's literally
Oh.
just people fighting to get into a venue, and then half their shit doesn't work because they're playing to tracks. And then, you know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah, I got you.
Like, there's just not as much live music.
Hmm.
And even Nashville, like, of course, there's tons of live music in Nashville, but you have either Broadway
Right.
or you have writers' rounds where it's people who just got there and they're just trying to.
Mhm.
I've played writers' rounds with amazing songwriters, and I've played writers' rounds with people who just picked up a guitar last week. Like,
Interesting.
so Nashville is great, but I'm saying there's like not as much, I think, variety and breadth
Mhm.
and diversity of music.
That's a great answer. That's the most, well thought out answer, I think.
Yeah. I'm just a big fan of Austin. I want to
Yeah.
live here for the rest of my life.
Well, I mean, for me, it's a community thing.
Hmm.
Like,
There's a lot of community.
and not to say that there's not a community in Nashville and LA and New York. There's
Of course.
100%
Yeah.
communities
Of
out
course.
there, right? Of course, I'm probably biased, but I don't know. I just like we just talked about your conversation, like Erica inviting you to a singer-songwriter thing, and
Yeah.
just like Connor Stevens putting on this whole showcase,
Yeah.
and I don't know. I guess that's not very unique, but my point is, it just feels different here. I
Yeah.
don't know.
There's
Even
something
for a
about it.
guy like me who isn't necessarily involved with the scene,
Yeah.
but enjoys it and
Yeah.
is out there a lot with it. I mean, Black Frets started here, now Sonic
Yeah.
Guild.
Yeah.
There's so many nonprofits between, the health side like Ham and
Right.
Sims, and it's just a big part of what made the city.
Yeah.
And music created Austin,
Yeah.
right? Like what started Austin started with music.
Yeah.
And I think there's a big emphasis to keep it that way,
Yeah.
right? And it's going to evolve. Venues are going to close down. Venues are going to open up. Bands are going to come in and out. But
Right.
I think if there's folks like you on stage, I think we're in good hands.
Heck yeah.
S
I want to add, can I add something to that?
Yeah.
I think also the thing with like places like LA or New York,
Hmm.
let's use New York as an example.
Hmm.
There are some really, really, really legendary things that have come out of there that
Right.
are no longer there.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big thing for me is I see like a lot of my friends from college moved to New York because they were all, wanting to do the
Right.
jazz thing and they was like they couldn't survive and there isn't like there just doesn't seem to be as much music everywhere you go.
Hmm.
So it's like I need to go to New York to see a musical on Broadway or like at the Blue Note. But there isn't as much just like literally everywhere you go there's
Yeah.
music. The way there is in Austin. And I
Yeah.
think you're right about the tradition too, like about like how it kind of created Austin. It's just sort of like the fabric of what the city
Mhm.
is. And people come, I mean, Austin's a hotspot for corporate events,
Yeah.
which, you
While we're
know,
spending $2 billion on our convention center
yeah,
or whatever it is, I don't know. It's
it's crazy. But, the thing is that they always want is they want specifically Austin music.
yeah.
Like they want
Oh,
to
yeah.
hire original artists, or even if they want covers, they still want you to be like the Austin thing and
Yeah.
not like a pop band. Like they somehow want, and this also I think comes because of we've got these tendrils of music coming in from just all over Texas. Like the
Mhm.
Texas circuit is a real thing.
Oh, yeah.
And so because Austin is a big city within Texas, not as big as Dallas or Houston, but it's like that music city, we have the Texas country thing, we have the singer-songwriter thing, we have these blues and like
Mhm.
soul things coming that are very
Yeah.
Texan, and all of those tendrils lead from the tiny towns into
Yeah.
Austin.
Oh, I mean,
That's how it feels to me.
like, look at the hill country. Look at
Yeah.
the folks that have come out of the hill country
Yeah.
circuits, right, and playing the
Absolutely.
dance halls and doing all that,
Yeah.
and they might have a home base in Austin, but hell, they're on 290,
Yeah.
just hitting Lugenbach, hitting Fredericksburg, going down to Bernie, playing all the dance halls in between, and it's just,
And that's my dream.
yeah,
That's
that
my dream. I
is
want
that
I
is
want
that
to get the circuit going,
well, because that was gonna be my question. What's the end goal?
The end goal is to tour full time, and you can do that sustainably in Texas.
Yeah.
And I play full time, and I used to play more than I do now. I'm really focusing on the record. I'm like literally had to turn things down and take time off.
Ebbs and flows, right?
Yeah. But the goal is to support my full band
Mhm,
just on original music and be able to play these circuits. And I think that there's a lot of opportunity outside of Texas too.
mhm,
So looking at those, Nashville and all the festivals and stuff like that. It's not that we would just stay in Texas, but the
right.
fact that we have such a sustainable way of um having a
Yeah,
full-time music career here in Texas
yeah.
is really important, and I think it can be that sort of home base.
When you said that, the first person that popped in my mind was Summer Dean.
Oh my god, she's so great. She's
She
so great.
but she's a road dog,
Yeah.
and I mean that in the most respectful term. She is on the road all the time, and I'm sure it's a grind,
Yeah.
there's no doubt about it, but my point is she has sustained a living
Yeah.
from it, obviously, and she's making music,
Making a name for herself too.
and gosh, she's so freaking
She's
good.
great. Yeah.
But yeah, that's the first person that came to my mind.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I definitely like look up to her. That's
Yeah. That's cool. So how do you think we keep Austin music?
I think that we need to really encourage the musicians themselves, the artists themselves. I'm really passionate about this. I really think that we all need to stand strong on pay rates and quality of living.
Mm,
And I think the other side of that is the sense of community, like that you've
mhm,
talked about, and
mhm.
strengthening the community in a way that makes it welcoming and not competitive. And I think, like, I just don't believe in competition. I think there's room for all of us. Like, you can, like, you can like my music and also this other person's music at the exact same time. That's
Yeah.
how playlists work. That's how mixtapes worked back in the day.
I mean, yeah,
You don't have to
that's a
like
good
only
point.
one artist. So there
Yeah.
really isn't such a thing as competition. If I get booked on a festival one year, I'm probably not getting booked for the next 5 years because that's how festivals work. So you can have the slot next. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like there's no such thing.
Yeah.
Um, which can be hard to remember when when you're not doing well and somebody else is, you're like, why don't I have that?
Yeah.
But I really think that if we can strengthen that community to make it really welcoming to all people, all genres, and also stand by our quality of living and pay rate, because there is a serious problem with people across the world thinking that the starving artist trope is like a real thing that has to be that way. And it doesn't have to be that way. There is a struggle in music. We don't have bosses giving us a salary, and we don't have like every year we get a
Yeah.
raise. But because of that, it causes people to accept the same pay year after year after year
Yeah.
after year. And there's going to be shows where it really depends on your tickets, and you you really got to play it anyway, even if you lose money, because it's a great opportunity. I'm not
Yeah.
saying don't do those,
Right.
but I'm saying like when you have people asking you to do what they call a show, but it's 2.5 hours of covers, don't do that for free. And don't do that for $75. I will tell you my rates. You can
Yeah.
feel free to match them.
Yeah.
Like I think that we need to really, really make sure that the quality of living is there, or else we'll lose musicians. We'll lose
Yep.
art. Lose the artists. So that's my soapbox.
Great point. I like that. And it just reminded me, we skipped right over this part.
Mhm.
New Mercedes.
Oh yeah.
We'll end on this. Tell me about that whole experience, because that is wild.
Yeah, that was a weird one. I wrote that song because for a lot of reasons, it's very true to me. I mean, my actual dream car is like a late 70s, early 80s Mercedes, okay? Convertible, but
Mm,
um I just like wrote this song. I was living in LA at the time, but we knew we were moving back to Texas.
mm.
And this was my song. I was like, I want to write a fun song. What would Shania do? Is kind of
Okay, there you
was
go.
kind of my idea behind it. And so that's why I wrote that. And then just kind of started, we recorded it ourselves, and that's all like home recording basically. And then we moved to Texas and ended up flying back to Palm Springs to record a music video.
Mhm,
And it was awesome. It was a lot of fun, and I just didn't really think that anything would happen with it.
mhm.
But we put some, that was one of the lead singles off the EP, and we put some like promotion into it, put some marketing into it,
'Kay.
and so we got like 2.3 million views on YouTube. And someone who knows a little bit more about like influencer marketing than I do sent it to Mercedes-Benz of Austin, and
Wow,
they gave me a Mercedes.
that's awesome. And you at, Under the Rock, you were saying you had a billboard. Was it during South by or something?
Yeah, it was
That's so
somewhere around
that's
there.
like,
It was on top of like this yellow tequila
oh,
building.
the 512 right there at
Yeah,
Barton Springs, or not Barton
yeah,
Springs. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
not Barton Springs, but yeah.
exactly. Yeah, and I didn't like ask for that. I'm it's so funny because I have a vinyl sign with like my face on it and a QR code that I'm supposed to bring to gigs, and I never set up because I think it's embarrassing. Like I don't actually really like the promotion stuff
Yeah,
at all, but if someone else kind of like does it and believes in the music, then whatever,
yeah.
I need to do it. I know it's a part of the music. But yeah,
That's
it was a wild time, and I'm really really grateful, and I'm really lucky. So,
cool. Well, that's a
yeah.
cool story. I really appreciate you coming by today. This has been
Thank you so
fun
much.
conversation. You definitely have a unique outlook, and just based off your experiences on things in town. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing those with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, we'll see you. Thanks for listening. Know someone we should talk to? Give us a shout on Instagram at Austin Music People. Tell your friends, tell your family, and get out there and support Austin music.